Hello and welcome to another episode of Sailor Barry. Haley's at work. I'm at the boat. First things first, I want to let everybody know I will be at the Pender Harbor Wooden Boat Show this weekend. So if you want to head over to the Sunshine Coast and check out Thunderchild for yourself, get her done. I'd love to see you there. Dagon will be there also. We leave for Friday and we will be there for the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th of August. So come say hello. In this episode, I go to Vancouver and I work on a really cool boat. I wanted to say thank you to Chad and Shelby for reaching out to me and giving me the opportunity to help you guys get your boat restored. This is the first of 2 visits I do there, so there's far more content on this boat coming in the future. It's a cool Colin Archer built in Norway at the Moen Boatyards in the 60s. It's an incredible boat. It's from an incredible historic boatyard founded in the 1800s. Worth seeing this boat, worth restoring. Perfect boat, awesome people who own it. And a really cool, awesome thing happened where I get to hang out with Maya and Aladino. And as you guys all saw last week in their episode, I helped them install the Bowsprit. So if you want to go see more about that episode, check it out. It's in the description. Yeah, really cool to hang out with them. We are now very close friends. Aladino and I text damn near every day. Very cool to be a part of that project in some small way. Very cool people. And on that note, enjoy the episode. I've already thrown most of it overboard, but there's crab shells everywhere. And last I looked, there's messes everywhere. Yeah, this is otters. That's otters. This is all otters. Everything down there, otters. And they just come up here and they just move things around, make it all look shitty. Yeah. Gross. Doing the usual maintenance on the boat, cleaning up the decks, putting all the sail covers on, getting into a routine of it, and making sure she looks pretty while she's sitting out at anchor. So, Perry has to move. Dusty and Amy are back, and we've been using their ball, so time to put Perry onto a new one. So we are towing her. And all is going pretty well so far. We won't talk about the accidental extreme throttling, but you know, it's 90 horsepower. I'm not used to that. All right, now for something completely different. I am at Shelter Island Boatyard, and I am helping some kind folks out. They watched the show, and I got an email, and they said, "Hey, we bought a boat. Looks like Thunderchild," and they were curious if I was willing to help out as shipwright. So here I am, and I am helping out. First, for some backstory, I was contacted by the owner of this vessel, or Haley was actually, quite a while ago when we still had Dagon in the boatyard. So we had no concept of really considering this boat because we were so invested in Dagon. I think she's 48 feet on deck, and she is Carvel planked with 4x4 Fuddockson frames and 1.5-inch planking. So pretty cool boat. It sat in the river fairly neglected for quite some time, so she has suffered substantially. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 or 8 rows of planking on the top sides, on port and starboard, which, as you can imagine, has completely degraded and is making the paint look awful. It's destroying the fasteners, which is then destroying the frames. So right now, they want to get their boat out sailing and serviceable before too long. So instead of going gung-ho and replacing every frame, and that looks questionable, and instead of replacing all of the knotty pine planks, we are just replacing the ones that are mush. There are some that still are quite resinous and holding well, so those ones are staying. Maya and Aladino are here with Magic Carpet, and I'm going to help them install their Bowsprit in a few days. And the North Star of Herschel Island restoration is also here, so I'm going to go hang out with Lyle. Here is a view of what we've gotten into so far. Here she is on port side. So we have a little bit more planking to remove. I do not like the look of this iron thickness, that iron thickness, or that iron thickness. But a full replank isn't necessarily in their budget, so we're tackling the critical planks only, like that one, which you can tell is awful, and the three below it, or the two below it. So these planks are coming off. Like, that shouldn't be possible. So when a plank is like that, it comes off. Got Haley's motorcycle running, so that's how I'm here. Yeah, beautiful double ender, truly the big brother to Thunderchild. It is very Colin Archer. It has the classic bulwark cap rail that comes down and do a nice little swoopy off the front, and it's got like the biggest piece of Purple Heart I think I've ever seen as a bowsprit. A movie company purchased this and painted it white and then covered it in fake wood so it would look more scummy and piratey, but I don't really know how you could get scummier and piratier than this. Then they painted Mutinac on the side, and the shitty quality of paint they used probably expedited the rot. But looks like I'm maybe 12 planks on port side, and I've counted what I have deep suspicion will be around 14 on this side. You can tell just by looking, that one's gone, that one's gone, that one's gone, that one's gone, that one's gone. Those are probably all toast. Those are probably all toast. Toast, 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 absolutely toast. Gone, totally gone. So yeah, I can see into the boat through that plank. Wow. But in other good news, we got tropical hardwood planking. Everything below the waterline is flawless. Okay, so cutting out a plank that goes almost to the stern, and really good news, as I get into it, it's nice and fresh wood with no rot. So I picked a good spot. I'm happy with the staggering on the butt joints. So hopefully I don't have to keep going on the stern. The trek back here was being slow and methodical and making sure I wasn't setting myself up for failure. The key with this sort of work is to make sure that you have a good butt schedule. You don't want to have too many butts too close together without frames and planks separating each of these butt joints. At least I'm almost done the demo. I'm just gonna bash these all with a sledgehammer and pry them off. And then the trick for me with all of this work was with a freshly blown out back, taking it slow, taking it careful, and not pushing myself too hard, because otherwise I'd end up crippled yet again. But thankfully I managed to avoid any overexertion on my back, and all is well. Once all of the majority of the wood was removed, then the next step was just cleaning up the plank edge and making sure that everything was ready to go for fresh install of the next plank. Okay, so this is good enough wood. It's not great, it will get replaced, just not on this haul out. This is serviceable. Keep it for now if you don't got the money. This is good. And this is going it has too much iron sickness. This is going because it's defunct. Might as well get rid of it. And that gets me on another frame right there. It's 2 frames away. It's a bit close for a butt joint. This is very close, but at least it's 1 frame away and 1 plank away. Not the best, but I'm really trying not to crack this boat open too much, and they do intend on replacing the remainder of the planks in the future. So this is just to get them out in the water enjoying the boat, and the easiest way to do that is get rid of the water ingression, stop it from getting worse, and make it seaworthy again. I know many boats in commercial active use with far worse planking than this. This is acceptable. This will be able to sail hard. It just isn't sail across a giant ocean ready, but it will be. This frame is in incredible shape. All the rest in the stern are in great shape. The planks were really bad here, so they let a lot of water in through the planks and then destroyed the backside of these frames. So instead of replacing these frames entirely, I'm just gonna sister beside them. They still have 70% of their strength and holding power and everything. So if I add a frame that comes down multiple planks beside it and goes up behind the shear strake, it will be, and I'll also lag bolt it onto it. It provides the holding from this and the deeper structure from these, which are great below the waterline. And then the sistered frame beside will give something really sturdy to put the planks onto. This would hold the plank, that would hold the plank, that would hold the plank, and those 4 or 5 there probably wouldn't. I bet you'd drive a lag in and it would just start free spinning. So that's why we're gonna sister, is something to fasten the planks directly onto, and it will be fastened very deep into the boat and all the way up underneath the covering board. So it's gonna be sturdier than it's been for a very long time. And I'd say 90% as sturdy as it was the day it was built. So it's a very viable solution to just sister in big frames. And it'll add a bit of weight, but that's not really a big deal for a boat this size. It will add rigidity and plank holding. So that's the whole goal here. I'm not doing a tally-ho to this. They don't deserve that kind of treatment. Not because they don't deserve a tally-ho style boat, they're great people, but because they don't deserve the financial punishment that entails doing a tally-ho job. This plank is great. Goes all the way to the stern just fine. Best news, it has the hydraulic attachments on it. Now it's time for a break, and while I was on break, Aladino swung by and asked if I would help him install the bowsprit for Magic Carpet 2. So the move from here would be to build some scaffolding that would hold the bowsprit approximately in place so that we could later install it with through bolts and C-deflex. Yeah, I don't think pine's the best choice for a bowsprit.
No? Let's test it. Well, can you bring that one like about to the same height?
I'm sure almost all of you have seen their show, but if you haven't, do check it out. Aladino takes things to the next level. Every time he works on a project, he always outdoes it. Him and Mads from Sail Life, they're kind of the people I look up to for how to do things better than factory. They do a phenomenal job. Go check out their episode to see the installation of the bowsprit. It's a work of art. All right. Beautiful morning as always. So today the bandsaw showed up and thickness planer showed up, and I am over at Favorite Boatworks space. If you don't follow them, you should follow them. And I need a forklift to get the Alaskan yellow cedar timbers that we purchased for making frame sisters. And Lyle at Favorite has been kind enough to let me borrow his forklift. So do me a favor, follow Favorite Boatworks on YouTube, because Lyle has been a total godsend on this project we're working on. And yeah, he hooked us up with the connection for the yellow cedar and let me borrow some of his equipment, which is great. I don't work for him. He shouldn't be letting me borrow his tools, but he is. So thank you to all of y'all at Favorite Boatworks. And yeah, right now he's got this little corking wall set up on it. So he's got corking bevels and everything on here. So this is gonna be the training needed for his apprentice shipwrights to understand how to cork a boat. And I gotta say, this project is looking so cool. It's pretty wild for me to see this boat in this state. I've had dinner aboard this boat. I've worked on it in the past when it was at the docks, and it's pretty remarkable seeing it completely stripped down to nothing and being completely rebuilt. It's a beautiful thing. I'm really thankful that all the folks at Favorite Boatworks are fortunate enough to be able to restore this vessel to the highest standard. Very, very, very impressive. Chad and Shelby purchased about a quarter of this wood stock here, so I'm just loading it all up and doing a couple trips and getting it all stacked up nicely in front of Sval. Thankfully, this boatyard is very wide and designed for travel lifts that are incredibly large to be able to pass through, so me going through with 14-foot timbers sideways is not a problem. This boat lived quite a long time at the docks here at Shelter Island, and my friend Terry, who owns the boatyard, said that he was a little skeptical of this boat coming out of the water because he knows its history. But he did say that once he saw that I was on the job, he wasn't worried about it anymore, and he would swing by a couple times a day and we'd shoot the shit and have a good old time. Went for some beers, hung out with Bill and Terry. Awesome. I love coming to Shelter Island. So from here, I'm taking some boiled linseed oil and just slapping it on the end grain of every single plank, because the worst thing that could happen to this wood is it to sit in the open sun and dry out exceptionally quickly, which would allow the wood to check and open up. You can see a few checks starting already, so urgent to get these covered up at the end grain as soon as possible. So now that we got the yellow and we have treated everything with vinegar, which should kill off any fungal spores, vinegar and water, and it's got some nice time to dry, I made a template for the first frame and walked the client through everything. So they have a really good understanding. Now it's time to cut out that template and pass it through the bandsaw. So the trick here is to make sure that you grab a bevel or 2 or 3 off of the boat so that you can cut the frame with the angle it's supposed to have in it. And the real trick for me was to make sure that I passed it through the bandsaw the correct way, because if I flipped that wood around 180 degrees, then the bevel would be facing completely the wrong way. So that's the only real trick in all of this, is getting your bevels and making sure that you cut appropriately with the bandsaw. This is the first one I cut out, so it took a couple extra seconds of thinking and ensuring that I'm doing it in the correct direction, but with that extra forethought, everything worked out perfectly. And then from here, for all of my square cuts that I have to do for the scarf joints, I just put the table back to a square so that I could make all those final cuts. So now that I've got bevels cut in, I just need to cut across here with a handsaw because it won't fit in the bandsaw. I'll saw this with a handsaw, and I can do a test fit. I know there's going to be a notch I have to cut out here, so it won't fit first try. And if you are trying to get into doing any kind of woodworking and you do not have a Japanese saw, a Tezuki saw like this, do yourself a favor, go out and get one. This one's an antique and it's still in really good shape, but you can purchase brand new ones quite affordably on Amazon or at your local shop, and they have replaceable blades, so they're delightful. Definitely an essential tool for a shipwright. I'm really glad that in the end we ended up working with yellow cedar. We were toying around with the idea of using oak or sapele, but yellow cedar is just so delightful to work with. It cuts like butter and it's incredibly strong, and the best part is it's incredibly rot resistant, which is exactly what we need in this scenario. Got the bevel right. Now I just need to mark where it makes contact up there. It looks like not much. Okay, I just confirmed it's about 1 inch. So I will cut 1.25 inches off, just so it sockets in. And then she should go all the way up. The remarkable thing about this boat is that despite the condition of the planks and the frames on the sides, the rest of the boat is genuinely in very good shape. She has no leaks. Her decks are phenomenal, which if they weren't would have been a real problem. And the interior is amazing. Thanks again to Chad and Shelby for taking such wonderful care of me while I was here. They let me crash in their boat with them. It was awesome. Just had a very nice productive day at the yard. We got one sistered frame completed and more or less ready for install, which is awesome. And I also had a chance to help Maya and Aladino with Magic Carpet too. We installed the Bowsprit. Well, I helped hold it. But yeah, it was really cool to be a part of that. And speaking of Maya and Aladino, I am on my way to their humble abode, and we're gonna have dinner and some refreshment. And yeah, so far, phenomenal day. Feeling really good about the project, feeling really good about the new owners of that boat. They are learning very quickly and they're making good informed decisions on their own. I'm trying not to call the shots for them because I think they need to have the knowledge to call their own shots. So just sort of making sure they understand bevels and bandsaws and how to assemble a futtock and what a futtock is, etc., etc., etc. So it's a bit of a learning curve, but day 3 and they are absolutely crushing it. So high expectations for the continued restoration of that boat. And I'm going to wrap up tomorrow, head back to Gabriola, check on Haley, and on top of that, I'm going to meet Simon, because Simon will be back in Gabriola finally. And as you saw if you watched his series, his mother passed after a year-long struggle with ALS. Go watch this video for more information if you are so inclined. And yeah, I want to be there for my buddy. It's been through a lot. And yeah, keen to see him again, keen to hang out, and very keen to see Haley again. And Nathan should be back at about the same time. So yeah, all in all, a great time. Getting to see all my buddies on all their boats Everybody's here. Favorite Boat Works, Geekamy, Providence. It's been really cool being here, and the weather's been perfect. So on that note, time to go for some delicious, much needed grub after a long day of righting ships. Just what shipwrights do, in case you were wondering. I don't know that that's what it means, but we can pretend it does. So we have the first of the sistered frames assembled, drilled, and ready for install. But we don't have the boat ready for the install, so that will happen at a later time. But what we have is a full working process, which is really nice. To assemble these, fit them really nicely, get an incredibly tight fit so that the planks are nicely cinched up against a nice, fair, true section of new framing. It's really nice to have one fully completed, which means that we have a process, which means that Chad can rinse and repeat. I walked him through the whole process, showed him every step I do, gave him a chance to play with it. It's coming together. It's been slow and methodical, waiting for tools, making sure we don't make any bad choices, making sure we don't crack this wide open and make for an impossible refit that is beyond their means or anything. So it's been a very cost conscious and very thinky process. Got back to Gabriola, checked in on Haley and how she's doing all by herself on Thunderchild, and we started doing some landscaping, as you could see. And then Nathan decided to take Dagon out for a little scull to see how his new sculling oar works. And as you can see, it's working phenomenally. He's making good headway, and he made it all the way over to Simon's boat, Old Dog. And we got to finally have some faith in Nathan's upper body strength to propel Dagon very successfully through the water. I was very pleased to see that he was able to make a decent speed as well as maintain good steerage and control over the boat while moving it around. So hats off to Nathan. Well done. Alright, today is engine maintenance day, so doing a full filter swap, getting rid of the oil filter, all three of the fuel filters, and changing the oil. So first things first, flash up the motor. Cool, I pumped out all the oil, so now
That's so cool.
this motor doesn't have a regular oil filter. It's got a filter like this that you insert into a housing. So I'm popping the housing off, and I'm suspecting there's going to be a decent amount of oil spilling out. So, where do I sit? It's all hot.
Can you see?
It's all happening right here. It's where the magic happens. Yep, oil everywhere.
Wow.
That is a dirty filter. It's like fucking Appa hair in here. Woo, dirty job. So now I just have to figure out where all the little rings go on it and clean all this stuff up and put it back together.
Wow, it's that easy, hey?
Not easy. Do you think you could get me the little bag with rings in it that maybe
You're
was
so
it was
demanding.
sitting on?
I'm already filming you. How am I?
Yeah.
If I'm filming you, oh wait, maybe I can reach them with my toes. I'm wearing socks, so I just have to take my socks off first. What does that look like?
I think it was sitting on it. It was like a bag with rings in it. Yeah, I think that's it.
It's mine. Babe, it's mine.
Fired up the motor, and then it stalled, which is exactly what I expected because there's now air in the system.
It worked before.
So the method that I'm going to use here, if you crawl out here and take a look, right over here, this is the return. So I'm gonna crack that and crank the motor over, and that will eventually piss out some air. So, ooh. Like I said, gotta bleed the air out. That's what we want to see. Crank that back down. Put this back into its position. Make sure the motor is clear. Crank this back. Sweet. Got the fuel filters, all three of them replaced, and the oil filter and all the oil, and ran it for half an hour. Sounds perfect. No stalls, no sputters. Got rid of some water out of the fuel separator, which just means we're fully maintained and ready for,
Let's go to Salt Spring.
woo, summer sailing.
We got some rigging to finish up.
A little bit of rigging, which I might do today. But the next thing for me to do is maintenance log. And Simon is back as promised. And that also means that Honey and Simon are reunited. It was a real delightful thing to bring those two back together. So we took advantage of this beautiful spring day and we relaxed on our boat, perihelion, and reminisced and got all caught up and started getting back into the rhythm of things. It's been really interesting having Simon away for several months. It really forced us to make Silva Bay our home. This time here without Simon has really allowed Nathan, Haley, and I to really land on our own 2 feet here in Silva Bay. Dagon, perihelion, Thunderchild, Haley, Simon, Mold Dog, and Nathan. So disrespectful.
So disrespectful. She's right there.
She's right there. Stay tuned for the next episode where we get back to the project on Sval and go for a little road trip. Woo! You made it to the end. Pat yourself on the back. You done good. I really appreciate you watching the episode. If you feel like it's worth your time, drop a comment. If you don't, that's fine. Comments do help though, so would really appreciate it. And chuck a like in there if you want. Subscribe if you're new here. And I wanted to say a huge thank you to all of our patrons. Wouldn't be able to do this show without you guys. And yeah, a couple weeks ago we had one of our patrons come out and hang out. That episode will be coming in not too long from now. John, what a great guy. Really appreciate having guys like you in our lives. And yeah, keep the love coming. Every little bit helps. And yeah, there's all our support links are down below. Thanks for tuning in. Really appreciate everybody. And we will see you next week. If I can stay on top of this editing thing. I've got the Pender Harbor Boat Show coming up, so it might be a little tricky for me to edit another episode, but this one should release on Friday, the day we are sailing over to the Pender Harbor Boat Show. So get on it. See you there. And then also, if you're hanging out this long, it's because you care. Maybe you're American. Maybe you live near Port Townsend. We will be at the Port Townsend Boat Show. Haley and I will be there with Thunderchild. Come say hello, drink a beer, tour the boat, shake our hands, whatever you want to do. And on that note, thank you. Appreciate all of y'all.